Hi guys, Nomis here. Welcome back to Nomishavn for episode number 50. It's been a while because the race day patch broke some stuff, but we are back at last. The focus of this episode will be on the Royal Palace of Nomishavn and the surrounding palace park. Before I get into the main build, I want to set up some of the sewage grid and work out some detailing for the metro. If you have watched before, you might remember this metro line coming across the bridge from Björgvin before dipping underground towards the central station. I kept the tracks on ground level for a little bit, because I plan on having a ground level station around here. But for now I just want to detail a little around where the tracks dip down to a tunnel. Mainly using IMT to add some retaining walls, fences and surfaces. And then we'll be back to talk about the palace and the park around it. So before we continue our build, I want to take a look at the main inspiration for the build today. So this is the Royal Palace of Norway in Oslo, and you can see it's like right in the heart of the city. And the cool thing about this is it has this big plaza and park space all around it, which is called the Palace Park. Well, if you translate it to English at least. I just want to see, I don't want to do like a one-to-one of it, because I'm not doing a one-to-one of Oslo, but I'm going to take heavy inspiration from a few different parts of it. First of all, this road leading up, which is, cars can go on it, but it's not like a regular road. I think there's some things blocking, so maybe just like service vehicles when there's events can go up there. Mostly it's just like people can walk up here. I want to get like a view similar to this in the build. You see this, it's going up here and it's like splitting apart, and then there's a monument from an old king, and you have this plaza space here. And the space that I'm building at in Nomishavn is kind of flat, and you see this is like the whole park is kind of like a gentle hill, so I'll have to just make a hill in the game to make it fit. And then you have some different details around the park. Like here you have some, I think it looks like some kind of maintenance building. You have a greenhouse, so I think I can use the vanilla park maintenance building and maybe adding some greenhouses to kind of simulate that. And the park as a whole, the style of it is, I think it's called like English garden, when the park is made to look pretty natural compared to like more manicured and very obviously planned out parks. You see it looks very natural, like almost like a forest with some bigger open grass lawns, of course. So that's what we're gonna do at least. And you have different ponds. You have a pond with like a really nice bridge, which I'll definitely do at one of the corners of the park. And you can see here also it's kind of split in two, so most of it is the palace park. You can see here some part of it is fenced in, and this is the Queen's Park, like a smaller park which is closed off at some points. It's not like open 24/7, but it has pretty long opening hours, so you can only visit during opening hours. You see this also has a pond, and it's like a small island in the middle here, and there's some water jets. I don't know, see, maybe you can check it out here. Yeah, you see there's some water jets in the middle here, and you can definitely do something like that. And then all along there's just these small paths going around. Let's see if we can. And then here This is like Queen Sonja's. It's art stable would be the direct translation. I think it's some kind of art exhibit / gallery that's managed by the royal family or the crown. I'm not exactly sure, but it's part of the estate at least. And then behind here, this is kind of like a private area. I think this is like the entrance for the royal family and guests, and when they're going somewhere, the cars would probably enter here. And as you can see, like, these big fences and hedges and really nice and manicured planters. So definitely going to do something like it. At the front and around, you can see if we can look at some details. You have these bollards with chains, and around you have these boxes which is used by the Royal Guard. Definitely going to be placing a lot of those around. We can also look at one of the sides here. Let's see. Yeah, you have more of these bollards, and you have this really nice like planter patterns with some paths and benches. I want to try to do something very similar to this. So yeah, I don't need to spend more time in here. I think we'll just go back in game, and then we can see how we're gonna build something similar to this, but kind of formed after Nomishavn. And yeah, of course, this last thing I want to show. You have this like wooden nice building, like almost like a small house, which looks like it's used by the Royal Guard. So I think I can use something from what's it called, Seaside Resorts DLC. I think a building to kind of stand in for this Royal Guard's house. So yes, then we can go back into the game, and then we can have a look at how I built all this. So as you can see, it's completely flat around here. And to give the castle the same grand feel as in Oslo, I decided to mold the terrain into a hill here, trying to get gentle slopes in most places. At some spots it becomes more steep, but I will just use this as an opportunity for some different approaches to detailing. The road leading up to the castle I'm using a plain pavement road for, stretching it out with an autocontroller to make it wider. For detailing I use IMT to add this gravel surface, which has this brown color with a little red tint almost, similar to some surfaces around the Royal Palace in Oslo. I'm also just starting off with placing all the main buildings outside of the castle itself, like the Royal Art Gallery and the maintenance building. When we looked at Google Earth, they mentioned there was a second park called Queen's Park, which is fan stuff. Along one side of it, there's a smaller road leading up to the private back area of the Royal Palace. This is similar to the Royal Palace in Oslo. This is a guarded road with a security checkpoint to get inside the gate. In front of the castle there is this elevated plaza with a big monument in the middle that the road splits in front of and curves around. To make this in game I line it out with a retaining wall and cover with some popular surfaces, which will be the base for putting the same growl decals as road has. Leading up to the plaza I'm placing some classical stone stair props, and spicing it up with some other pillars and balustrade props. And the open grass areas are decorated with some bushes. It's not exactly the same as the inspiration, but I think it gives up a very similar feel. So now I'm starting to decorate all the areas around the castle. First off I'm covering with some nice tile decals and the bollards with chains that I talked about earlier. I'm also adding in these guard boxes and putting some lights along the roads. I didn't have any royal guard props, so I just placed some police officer props inside the guard boxes, which I think worked out pretty well. So this is the Royal Guardhouse, and around it I'm just doing some simple detailing, nice cobblestones, curves and some planters. For the private fenced-in area at the back of the castle, I took a lot of inspiration from the Oslo Royal Palace. The surfaces are a nice marble for the road which loops around in front of the entrance, and some nice tiles for the rest. The marble on the road had a bit of a Yankee shape, so I lined it with a lot of planters which made it come together nicely. Since I wanted this to be a kind of secluded area, I lined the fences with hedges and put a lot of trees around to provide some shade and privacy. While most of the details right around the castle are finished, I want to start our building the palace park. I'm using gravel paths for this, lined with curbs, and to make it a park I'm using these gateless park entrances from the workshop. It should have a lot of different entrances, both from the palace road and the surrounding streets. The maintenance building I looked at had some greenhouses. I wanted to add that detail to this build as well. I got these nice greenhouse assets which I put together, and inside I put a few different planters. The idea is that they prepare and store different vegetation here, which doesn't handle the winter climate. Because the gravel paths are terrain conforming and it's not a flat park, placing lights with IMT doesn't really work and they just have all messed up heights. So I need to just place these manually. But it's a pretty quick process, just making sure most areas along the paths are lit up. There's gonna be a few different ponds inside the park area. For this corner here, I wanted a simple and natural pond. So I just built it out with the terrain tools and used the water tool to fill it. For details, I add some mossy rocks, river reeds and a bunch of suitable surfaces. For some extra detailing, I add a few people chilling by the pond on some towels. In a few places the terrain gets pretty steep, and I want to take the chance to add some interest to those areas. Where we have a road going below the elevated metro, I'm putting in a path going straight up the steep terrain. Using some props with IMT, I make it into a long staircase. Around it I decorate it to have the look of a cliffside, with a bunch of different rock assets, and I fill in some gaps with more trees for that natural look. You might have thought, because we're building a park, there's no way I can sneak in a rail station build. Well, you thought wrong, because we're building an elevated metro station right on the edge of the park. The M6 is one of the icons of Nomishavn, with the beautiful old viaducts running through the district of Christiania. It's built using the retaining walls from the Dresden-Neustadt station pack, and I will continue to use it for the stations on this line to keep a consistent look. For the design of the station, it will have similarities with the elevated platforms of the Parliament station, which are built in an early episode over where most of the government offices are. The main idea was to have an island platform with 2 stairs that you can reach from an underpass directly from the street. There's also going to be an underground line running directly beneath the park, and inside the underpass I put an entrance to the underground part of this station.
Lane tracks, I'm on the move, custom stations in the groove. IMT, the tool I choose, marking roads, no time to lose. Platforms rise, connections flow in the city. Watch it roll, ticket booths and benches placed. Every detail perfectly traced. IMT, let's design the scene. Custom stations running clean. Props and networks all aligned. In skylines we build and shine. Time displays and seats set right. Crafting dreams day or night. Trash can stand in side by side. Everything's smooth, nothing's denied. Trains are coming, people wait. The station's bound to elevate. Mark the lanes, the signs are clear. write another day. And just lay with careful grace, a peaceful vibe, a cozy place. Screens the times, no one's late. Every part aligns with fate. IMT, you make it real. All my visions, all my zeal. Cities skylines, here we stand, building wonders with our hands. IMT, let's design the scene. Custom stations running clean. Props and networks all aligned. In skylines we build and shine. Time displays and seats set right. Crafting dreams day or night. Custom stations in the skies. In skylines we'll always rise. IMT, the key to dreams. Building cities, crafting streams. Custom stations in the skies. Custom stations in the skies. In skylines we'll always rise. IMT, the key to dreams. Building cities, crafting streams.
Since this station sits right on the edge and even a little inside the park, I wanted a direct connection into the park. Directly from the underpass, there's a path going up the hill, connecting into the rest of the path network of the park, with some brick walls on the edges and a bit of flower bushes. I mentioned an underground line going beneath the park, and this is where I set up that line. There are two tracks of the on the large metro interchange at the central station, which is currently not used. And this is where this line will go towards. There's gonna be one more station at the other side of the park, before the line goes into the central station. They have a nice connection without any conflicts, and make a flyover junction to merge the two lines into the tunnel before the central station. For one of the main roads along the park, I wanted to have bike paths, so I decorate that with some IMT work. So here's the second pond of this park area, and this is where I want a nice bridge crossing it, inspired by what we saw on Google Earth. It's not the same style of bridge as an inspiration, but I had this nice cobble bridge from the workshop which I have been wanting to use. This is a perfect spot for it. I scaled it up with PO, but that made it a little too steep, so I had to adjust it down a little bit in the middle. To make it functional, I placed some invisible pedestrian paths following the shape of the bridge. Back to the castle, I'm adding a detail from the inspiration. A small plaza surrounded by planters and a monument from a historical queen in the middle.
You're the reason.
Around the Queen's Park in Oslo, there is this interesting shape of hedges and flowers with some benches, which I took in inspiration for this small detailing project here. For the pond in the Queen's Park, I wanted to make it in a different way and not use the water tool. The idea is to use some water surface props to make it look like a pond. I line out the pond area with these retaining walls and use terrain clipping brushes to remove the terrain. And then I cover it with the water surface props and proppable gravel surfaces for the bottom. The advantage to this is that the water isn't completely still, which is more realistic for a small pond like this. It also means I can finally use these animated swan assets. They conform to the terrain, so if I try to use them in a pond with actual water, they will just sink to the bottom. Inside the pond is a smaller island with some trees, and in the pond there's some water jets. Both of these are taken from the real Queen's Park as inspiration. Before I cover the park in trees, I have a few more assets I wanted to decorate with. This round temple looking building, and a few mausoleums which I imagine is for previous kings and queens. Lastly, I want to decorate the backside of the Royal Art exhibit. For functionality, I place a plain road and move some spawn points back here. To detail, add a lot of parked vans and some normal cars, and some general clutter with things being delivered to the building, as well as some trash containers. For the back entrance door, I make this little ramp with retaining walls and pavement surfaces. Anyways, that is it for this episode. I really hope you enjoyed it if you made it this far, and I really appreciate you watching the whole thing. A like, comment and subscribe would be greatly appreciated, and help me growing the channel. I also do have a Patreon in case you'd wish to support me further. Have a great rest of your day, hope to see you next time, and enjoy some cinematics of the Royal Palace Park of Nomishavn.